At what point did you connect all these elements of story with the fact that you could actually write your own story?
Here's how God had to nail that into my brain, as dense as it was. I was actually editing and writing a screenplay about the fictional version of me. I mean, you know, when we were creating Blue Like Jazz, Jazz, the movie, we were writing my story. And really, what hit me was there are principles that screenwriters use so that when the credits roll, you will actually sit there in the theater and, you know, when you see the movie and you don't want to leave.
Right.
I mean, the credits are rolling and you're just not ready to get up.
Yeah.
That's where you want to land in life. And if you want to land in life, there are certain principles that screenwriters use to get there, and they also work in your actual real-life story.
Talk about some of the elements that make up story.
The elements are a protagonist that wants something and is willing to overcome conflict to get it. That's a story. What I learned was that what we want determines what our story is going to be about, and what we want defines the level of meaning with which that our story is actually.
So it really starts there.
It starts there, yeah. Well, It starts with who you are. A real strong self-inspection of saying, what kind of heart do I actually have?
One of the fun parts about story is this whole idea of an inciting incident, where the protagonist, either wittingly or unwittingly, gets thrown into a story. How did that work itself out in your own life?
Well, there's a principle in story, and it's true in story because it's true in life. Everything that's true in story is there for a reason. It's because it's true in life. Story is just a condensed version of life. That people do not want to change. They're unwilling to change. And because we don't like change, because change throws us into fear, and throws us into conflict. And so we like staying the same. So you have to force yourself to change. And the best way to change, if you want to change your character, you have to change the story. Our character is the role that we're playing in the story that we're in. That's all character is. And if you change your story, then you will change your character. But we don't want to do that. So what we have to do is we have to throw ourselves into stories unwillingly, and then we have to swim our way out.
Talk about Peru. You talk about it in the book, about an inciting incident that started with signing up for an excursion there.
And so I signed up to hike in Peru, to hike 26 miles over 3 mountain passes, one of them over 14,000 feet. It was just an insane thing for a guy my size to do. And I think by that time I'd already lost about 100 pounds. So there happened to be a girl involved that I really liked. It
was almost accidental.
She was coming. Yeah, it was very accidental. But now I've learned you can do these things intentionally.
Yeah.
There were these pressures to get into shape, or you're going to be completely humiliated when they when your good friends carry your heavy body out of the Andes. That was enough for me.
Leave you there.
Yeah, and so I think the key is to find your pressure, to find what will work for you, and then throw yourself into the story. So last year, to continue with this, signed up to ride my bicycle across America from Los Angeles to Washington, D.C. and on into Delaware. And did it, rode 3,300 miles. It was much more intentional. I kept a blog. I had thousands of people following me. There's no way I'm not going to finish that ride.
Yeah.
No way. Now, if there weren't people following me, and if it weren't for a good cause to raise money for Blood Water Mission, I wouldn't have got 50 miles into that ride, because that's the nature of humanity. It's nothing to feel bad about.
Yeah.
It's just who we are. We need inciting incidents to throw ourselves into story.
So now when you're in the middle of a story and you encounter some kind of conflict, how do you think about that now?
Well, I think about it a couple of ways. If I'm encountering conflict in some ways, I think, okay, has bad decisions gotten me into this? Because that's a kind of conflict that God teaches you not to make bad decisions by when you stick your hand in the fire, it burns. But then there's other conflict that you just say, this is a part of life, and God is teaching me to value something. When we did the Inca Trail, our guide, Carlos, stopped us on this plateau about 3 miles in, and we hadn't started the hard part of the climb yet. From that day on, for the next 2 days, we would be climbing stairs. And he said, Senors, if we wanted to get to Machu Picchu, we could take the Sacred Valley along this river, and we'd be there in 6 hours, a 6-hour hike, and it doesn't climb any mountains. And he said, but we're not going to do it. We're going to go 20 miles up over these Andes, and the Andes are mammoth.
Straight up.
Oh, man. And you're just going, why aren't we taking the river? You just told us we could be there in 6 hours. But he said the Incas, in their civilization, they would make you take the long route, because if you took the long route, you would better value the city when you got there. So they wanted people to appreciate the city, so they made them climb the mountains. And I think God does that in our lives. And so we actually say, praise God. right? Consider it all joy when you encounter various trials, because the testing of our faith produces endurance. That there's a benefit to this.